Hey, Chaotic Crew, Brian here. A little under the weather, but it has been a fantastic Final Fantasy spoiler season. We've got all 5 of the commander decks here, and we got to start with probably what I think is going to be the most popular one, which of course is Limit Break. Cloud is definitely one of the most iconic characters in Final Fantasy VII, one of the most iconic games of the franchise. So we have to start here, right? And they've made this deck a Naya equipment deck. Also cares about having a bunch of equipped creatures, so I like it. It's going wide with equipment, which I think is really cool. And we're going to get into that here in a second. We are going to be taking out 10 cards, putting in 10 new cards, and making a unique 3-color equipment deck here. So let's get started with the deck that they've built and then how it's going to play and go into the upgrades afterwards. The commander here is Cloud X Soldier, 2 of anything and 3 colors. Of course, that's red, green, white. For a 4/4 human soldier mercenary with haste. When Cloud enters, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to it. So it has haste, and when it enters, it's automatically going to get an equipment attached to it. Whenever Cloud attacks, you draw a card for each equipped attacking creature you control. So he is potentially going to be equipped. So I would expect you're going to draw at least 1 card with Cloud. Then if Cloud has power 7 or greater, create 2 treasure tokens. That's really good too. So this commander is drawing cards and ramping and smashing your opponent's in. So really strong commander here. It's doing a lot. And I like it a lot. So let's dive into the deck and how they built it. There's a bunch of new cards, especially for this being, a Universes Beyond set. Zac Fair, a 1-mana 0/1, and it enters with a 1/1 counter. You pay 1, sacrifice Zac Fair, target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. Put Zac Fair's counters on that creature and attach an equipment that was attached to Zac Fair to that creature. So Zac Fair works really well with Cloud as the commander here because it's a cheap creature to get down on the board and can protect your commander, but also can attack in with equipment as something you want to equip because whenever you sacrifice it, you can move the equipment. So it's really strong there. And really great flavor win, if I do say so myself. Don't know how to pronounce this name. Bugenhagen, Wise Elder, 2 mana, 1 and a green. For a 1/3 human shaman with reach. Beginning of your upkeep, if you control a creature with power 7 or greater, you draw a card. Then you can tap to add 1 mana of any color. So it's a mana dork that is pretty much going to give you a little bit of card draw here and there. So maybe draw you a couple cards, and for 2 mana, you can't really beat that. So a really strong card here. I think this is solid. Also, a great legendary creature for those legendary, kindred decks. Joda's comes to mind. But very strong card here, and helps get your commander out, helps ramp into equipment. Sid, Free Flyer Pilot, 1 and a white for a 2/2. Equipment and vehicle spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So good for equipment or vehicle decks. Has jump, so during your turn, Sid has flying. And then you can pay 2 and tap Sid. Return target equipment or vehicle card from your graveyard to your hand. It could be really solid in this deck. This deck does have some, draw discard shenanigans going on. And this is a good way to get stuff out of your graveyard. So very good there. Also makes your equipment cost 1 less, which is very important. Hella Trooper, 1 and a white for a 1/2 flyer. Whenever it attacks, another target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. An equip ability to activate that a target this creature costs 2 less to activate. So this is really strong because it's easy to equip Hella Trooper, right, with an equipment, and then you can give Cloud or any of your other equipped creatures flying when it attacks. So very strong card here, super cheap, and really strong creature to equip your stuff to. Professor Hojo, 2 mana, 1 and a green for a 2/2. First activated ability you activate during your turn that targets a creature you control costs 2 less to activate. Pretty much a very wordy way for this deck to say equip, activations cost 2 less for you. But it also works for other, cards as well. This could be a really fun, unique commander, but for now, it's just reducing equip costs. And then whenever 1 or more creatures you control become the target of an activated ability, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So this, obviously you're going to draw a card whenever you equip a creature, which is really cool. Not when you get Cloud's equip ability, but when you activate the ability of an artifact to equip. That's very strong. And, if you have like Sigarda's Aid or any other creature that lets you equip at an instant speed, this can draw you a card each turn. because you have a free equip. So very, very good there. Pure Steel Paladin, fantastic reprint. You're going to draw a card when equipments get in, and equipment you control have equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. So that's one way to make your equipment free, right, for Professor Hojo. Armory Automaton, 3 mana for a 2/2. When it enters or attacks, you may attach any number of target equipment to it. So you can stack the trigger with Cloud and this in a way to where this gets equipped with maybe a creature, or excuse me, an equipment, and then Cloud triggers to draw 2 cards. So pretty good there. Avalanche of Sector 7 is a new card. 3 mana for a star 3 menace. Its power is equal to the number of artifacts your opponents control. Whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact they control, it deals 1 damage to that player. So this is really the best against like decks that heavily use mana rocks, but it doesn't really do a whole lot for this deck in particular. It is a bit of a burn, and there's a slight burn strategy in this deck, but not really enough to really, you know, get the most value out of it. So if we're cutting cards, I'm probably going to be cutting this one quickly. Bastion Protector, another fantastic reprint. Commander creatures you control get +2/+2 and have indestructible, which is great to buff your commander, make it closer to have 7 power, and make it harder to get rid of. So very strong there. Elena, Turk Recruit, 3 mana for a 1/4. When it enters, return target non-assassin historic card from your graveyard to your hand. Whenever you cast a historic spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Elena. So really great, like the previous card Sid, to help get some of these, you know, artifacts and equipment out of our graveyard, but can also return a, you know, legendary creature from our graveyard to our hand as well. So very good there. Professional Facebreaker, another fantastic reprint to get some, you know, ramp and potential card draw. Probably going to be better used as ramp. Red 8, Proud Warrior. I don't know if it's Red the 8th or Red 8, but either way, very proud Beast Warrior for 3 mana. It's a 3/3 with Vigilance and Trample. Other modified creatures you control have Vigilance and Trample. And when it enters, return target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. So again, we do have some discard shenanigans, and some of your equipment's going to get removed here and there. So being able to get it back is pretty solid there. Vincent, Vengeful Atoner, 3 mana for a 3/3 Menacer. Whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on Vincent. And then when it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent if Vincent's power is 7 or greater. So kind of fitting that 7 or greater theme the deck has, but it's mainly focusing on burning. So I think would be really cool commander for Vincent's own deck, but probably not the best fit here. Yuffie, Materia Hunter, is pretty cool. 3 mana for a 3/3 human ninja. It's the first legendary ninja we have in red. It has ninjutsu for 1 in a red. When Yuffie enters, gain control of target non-creature artifact for as long as you control. Then you may attach an equipment you control to Yuffie. So you can steal an opponent's equipment, or steal opponent's mana rock, and then if you have an equipment, you get to equip for free. It's a very strong card here, especially with these swords, which rely on you being able to, you know, attack in and deal damage through combat. Very strong there. Aerith, Last Ancient, 4 mana for a 3/5, has lifelink, and at the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. If you gain 7 or more life this turn, return that card to the battlefield instead. This would be really great if we had more lifelink cards, like if we had like Shadow Spear or Lockstone Warhammer. There are a couple. We have you know, Behemoth Sledge, and there is also, you know, Aerith, who herself has lifelink, but I think there's not really enough here to get a lot of value off of it. You can definitely, if you attack in with Aerith, start you know, returning stuff to your hand, but I think Aerith's best as a blocker, potentially. I don't know. Hard to say, but potential cut list here. Barrett Wallace, 3 of anything and a red for a 4/4 human rebel with reach. When he attacks, deals damage equal to the number of equipped creatures you control to a defending player. So another burn equipment commander here. And again, we're not really... burning is good, and also fits the strategy of Cloud of, you know, having multiple creatures you want equipped, but at the same time, you know, Barrett, like, we don't need to burn opponents. We're killing them with commander damage. So this is kind of like counterintuitive to our plan. Barrett Avalanche Leader, though, a much better fit for the deck. 2 of anything and Gruel for a 4/4 with reach. Whenever an equipment you control enters, you make a 2/2 red rebel creature token, and then beginning of combat in your turn, attach up to 1 target equipment you control to target rebel you control. So very easily going to be able to essentially make tokens that you can equip it as well pretty easily and get multiple card draws with Cloud. So that's very strong there. Kate Sith, Fortune Teller, a Cat Moogle for 4 mana. It's a 3/3 and has Lucky Slots. At the beginning of combat on your turn, scry 1, then exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn, and when you exile a card this way, target creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is that card's mana value. So very cool, I think is great. You scry, so you choose what card you're exiling, or you have some more choice. I like this a lot, but it's just, potential maybe 1 card draw per turn. Like on the turn you play Kate Sith, you're probably not going to be able to cast whatever you get, but getting a scry and a pseudo draw per turn can be really good in some mono red decks, and also can be a fun, individual commander by itself. Heidegger, Shinra Executive, 3 of anything in white for a 3/3 human soldier. Beginning of combat in your turn, target creature you control gets +X/+0, where X is the number of soldiers you control. Again, our commander is a soldier, so that's very good there. At the beginning of your end step, create a number of 1/1 white soldier creature tokens equal to the number of opponents you control, more creatures than you. So this deck also has a bit of a token sub-theme, which I'm probably going to be cutting as well, just because there's not a ton of synergy there with what we're actually trying to accomplish. Sure, we're making tokens, but then we have to equip the tokens, and there's a whole thing behind that. But a very cool card. It does help get our commander to 7 power, right? It's a soldier, Cloud's a soldier. It's at least going to get +2 to 6. We just need another soldier to get there, so very good there. But next card is probably one of the best cards of the deck, and it's the alternate commander, Tifa, Martial Artist, 1 of anything in Naya colors for a 4/4 human monk with melee. And whenever 1 or more creatures you control with power 7 or greater deal combat damage to a player, untap all creatures you control. If it's the first combat phase you return, there is an additional combat phase after this phase. So really great here, Tifa. You don't have to deal 7 damage, you just have to have a creature with power 7 or greater deal combat damage. So if it has trample, very strong there, and lots of ways to give Cloud and Tifa power. Tifa also buffs herself, so automatically gets to 7 if you're attacking 3 people, so it can be nice there. Bronze Guardian, great in any artifact deck, especially with equipments. Just going to be really powerful card, double strike and ward 2, giving all your artifacts ward 2 to protect your equipment, and just a really strong card to hit in with. Sephiroth, Fallen Hero, 5 mana for a 7/5. When Sephiroth attacks, you may put a cell counter on target creature. Until end of turn, each modified creature you control has base power and toughness 7/5. So each creature with a cell counter is modified and will get base power and toughness 7/5. So it gives Cloud power 7 automatically. And then you can also pay 3 mana and sacrifice a modified creature. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So Sephiroth, is a card you can discard early on, but you can also get it back pretty easily if it's destroyed. So very, very good there. We've also got Hellkite Tyrant, which is a nice little reprint here. 6/5 flying trample for 6 mana. When it deals combat damage to player, gain control of all artifacts that player controls. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. So really strong card. It kind of makes you a target if you have a ton of artifacts. If not, it can be threatening, a good blocker, but yeah, gotta play this at the right time, right? Summon Kujata is a new card, and it's an enchantment creature that's also a saga, so really cool here. The first saga lore counter, deals 3 damage to each of up to 2 target creatures. So for 6 mana, getting rid of 2 creatures isn't great, but up to 3 target creatures can't block this turn on the second counter, which is pretty solid, right? If you can get this out and then maybe cast your commander the next turn if it was killed, or get another creature, then give it haste, right? Pretty nice there. And then Fires, the last lore counter, discard a card, then draw 2 cards. When you discard a card this way, this creature deals damage equal to that card's mana value to each opponent. So it's just burning your opponents. So it's a pretty cool card. It is discarding cards for 6 mana. It doesn't do a whole lot up front. It can be nice, but you play this, maybe someone board wipes, and then the second mode doesn't really do anything, or I guess you don't really do anything at all because it's a creature, right? So yeah, I don't think it does enough for only being around for 3 turns. Just something to think of. Going to spells now. 17. Dispatch is good removal. Vandal Blast, good against your opponent's artifacts. Cloud's Limit Break, a new card. It has tiered, so you choose an additional cost. For 0 mana, you can destroy a tapped creature. For 1 mana, additionally, you can destroy any number of targeted tapped creatures with different controllers. So essentially, for 3 mana total, you could destroy 1 tapped creature for each opponent. Or, you know, you can destroy a 4th if you want to get rid of one of your own creatures. And then for 6 total mana, you can destroy all tapped creatures. So at an instant speed, destroying all tapped creatures is very nice and helps, you know, blow out in very heavy combat metas. So very cool there. Nature's Lore, fantastic reprint to get some of these, you know, ramp spells back on the market below a couple dollars. Rampant Growth, always helpful. Chaos Warp, great removal. Love the art there. Cultivate, great ramp. Secret Rendezvous is interesting, right? It's a very political card where you and target opponent each draw 3 cards, but you could keep it, you could take it out. Honestly, I'm probably leaning on the more taking it out just because we already have a lot of card draw in the deck with our commander, and adding more equipment is probably helpful. On Ultimate Magic Holy, 3 mana for an instant. Permanents you control gain indestructible until end of turn. If this spell was cast from exile, prevent all damage that will be dealt to you this turn. So kind of like a more fair to Fairy's Protection that you can foretell. So very cool there. Also get Clever Concealment in the Precon with a lot of different creatures in the deck. That's important. Decimate is always solid. Harmonize to draw some cards. We do draw a lot of cards, but this is nice as well. Unfinished Business, you know, gets you a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, then return 2 aura and or equipment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature, so very solid there. Austere Command is sort of a modal board wipe, is always nice. Lifestream's Blessing is a new card, 6 mana for an instant to draw X cards, where X is the greatest power among creatures you controlled as you cast this spell. If the spell is cast from exile, you gain twice X life. So you're drawing a bunch of cards and you're potentially gaining a lot of life as well. I think it's nice to have life gain in the deck, and having this at an instant is really nice. You can hold up answers potentially, and if someone board wipes, you can respond by drawing a bunch of cards and being able to, you know, refill your board. So very good to have, I think. But yeah, I mean, Rishkar's Expertise is also a great card to have as well. Ultimate Magic Meteor, 6 mana for a sorcery, deals 7 damage to each creature if this spell was cast from exile. For each opponent, choose an artifact or land that player controls, destroy the chosen permanents. So, you know, 6 mana to you know, do worse Blasphemous Act, and then if it's cast from exile, you can destroy an artifact or land that each player controls and destroy them. It's okay. We get Vanquish the Horde, which is much better, and better than Blasphemous Act as well, where you destroy all creatures. It costs X less to cast for each creature in the battlefield. Starting with artifacts, we only have 19 in an equipment deck. You know, we'd probably like a little bit more. But Colossus Hammer is great. Explorer Scope is solid. Skull Clamp. We have a bit of a soldier theme, but even if not, you know, being able to draw a couple cards if your creature dies is always nice. Soul Ring, Arcane Signet. Conformer Shuriken is a new artifact equipment. 2 mana and then 2 to equip. Equipped creature has, whenever it attacks, tap target creature defending player controls. If that creature has greater power than this creature, put a number of 1/1 counters on this creature equal to the difference. So this could be a good to buff up, but also just helps you get in, which is pretty nice. Conqueror's Flail, a great reprint here. You know, equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control. So if it's your commander, it gets automatically up to 7, which is exactly what we want in equipment, right? And then as long as an equipment is attached to a creature, your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. So very good to have in a combat-heavy deck. Hero's Blade, also fantastic. Whenever a legendary creature you control enters, you may attach this equipment to it. It's automatically getting Cloud to that 7 power, and it automatically equips as well. Later on, it's not as great just because the 4 equip cost, but can be really solid here. Hero's Heirloom, 2 mana for an equipment that equips for 2. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. If it's legendary, it also gets Trample and Haste. Commander kind of already has Haste, so this isn't as ideal, but can be good to give to other creatures. Lightning Greaves, also great to give to other creatures. You give them Haste and Shroud. Mask of Memory is drawing us cards and discarding a card. Sword of the Animist gets us land. Trailblazer's Boots give us non-basic land walk, so our commander or any other creature that's equipped with it can essentially be unblockable. Wrecking Ball Arm is another new equipment. 2 mana. Equipped creature has base power and toughness 7/7. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So your opponent can't jump block them with cheap tokens, which is nice. You can equip a legendary creature for 3 or just equip for 7. So good to get a free equip with your commander on this. Very nice to have. Behemoth Sledge, equipped creature gets +2/+2, has trample and lifelink, so very good there. Champion's Helm gives a creature hexproof and +2/+2. Darksteel Plate gives it indestructible. Inspiring Statuary helps your equipment tap for your creatures. And then Summoning Materia is another new equipment, 3 mana. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, as long as it's attached to a creature. You may cast creature spells from the top of your library. Equipped creature gets +2/+2, has Vigilance, and can tap to add a green mana and equip 2. So this card does a lot here. Semi-card draw, or it's giving you an access to an 8th, another card in your hand at all times. And, buffing your commander, ramping you a little bit, so just really strong. New enchantments here. Furious Rise, beginning of your end step. If you control a creature with power 4 or greater, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. And then, you may play that card until you exile another card with this enchantment. So pretty much you are exiling the top card of your library and can, play that card. Now what's great is if someone board wipes you don't lose the card you exiled, right? You can keep that card for as many turns until you get another creature with power 4 or greater. So kind of a cool, semi-pseudo card draw. We have a lot of card draw anyway, so a lot of these cards I'm thinking we could probably take out. Soldier Military Program is a really cool new card though. 2 of anything and a white. For an enchantment at the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. If you control a commander, you may choose both instead. You can either create a 1/1 white soldier creature token or put a +1/+1 counter on each up to 2 soldiers you control. So Cloud's a soldier like we talked about, and you can also put a counter on one of the soldier tokens you make. So this is a really good card and a very solid token generator. But for this deck again, we're kind of getting rid of that soldier theme. Not really anything we need right now. As far as lands, nothing crazy here. We do get Spire of Industry, which is nice. Slayer Stronghold. Scavenger Grounds to exile all graveyards as some graveyard hate is very cool to see here. And then Firelit Thicket is a fantastic reprint as well. I know that was getting up in price there. But let's dive into the cards we're going to take out. The 10 of them we're taking out and the 10 we're adding in. Okay, so we're taking out 10. Aerith is the first to go. I think Aerith is really cool in the deck and can do some fun stuff, especially if you're, discarding maybe some of your creatures. I think Aerith is a cool card, but you kind of need to build around Aerith to get the most out of her. As a flavor win, cool to have in the deck, right? But I think, we really don't need Aerith to make this deck the strongest. Taking out Avalanche of Sector 7 as well doesn't really do a whole lot. It's focusing more on burn. Barrett Wallace also focusing more on burn, like we talked about. Kate Sith is cool, a really unique mono red commander, I think, but I think doesn't do enough for this deck. The best thing it does is that it buffs your Cloud to potentially get 2 treasure tokens, but at that point, Cloud's probably already getting buffed by an equipment. I don't know. Heidegger, Shinra Executive, beginning of combat. Like we talked about, we're kind of getting rid of that soldier theme we have here. It's really not a very big theme we have, and we don't get a ton of value off of tokens except for having them as blockers, right? So something to think about there. And then Summon Kujata is a super cool card, but very expensive. I think in an enchantment deck could go really well, like the Bellow, the raccoon bard that cares about enchantments, or maybe Wild Seer. Could be really cool there. Vincula Toner, like I said, also focusing on, essentially burn. It is a cool card. It has menace, and it gets bigger, and then if it's power 7 and greater, it does a lot. I don't know, this kind of makes you a target, and I don't know, I'd rather not be as much as a target as much as possible, right? Secret Rendezvous, we already have a lot of card draw on the deck. No reason making one of our opponents also draw cards. And then Ultimate Magic Meteor, we already have a few board wipes, or a couple at least. And, paying 6 mana for this isn't really worth it. And then Soldier Military Program, like we talked about, we're not really needing those soldiers, and we're not really needing the +1/+1 counters on Cloud either. So I don't think we need to have it in the deck. But very cool card, very good card that we will definitely be seeing a lot of. Now, as far as what cards to add in, I've added in 4 creatures, a sorcery, and 5 artifacts. So creature-wise, I added Bureau Headmaster from the Assassin's Creed set, and that is a card that makes your equipment spells cost 1 less to cast, and your equip abilities cost 1 less to activate. So doing a lot of legwork here to make your equipments be cheaper and, cheaper to equip. Cloud Planet's Champion from the dual deck, right? Essentially, during your turn, I think it's the starter set technically, but I like to call it the dual deck. During your turn, as long as Cloud is equipped, has double strike and indestructible, and equip abilities you activate that target Cloud cost 2 less to activate. So another just easy creature to get an equipment onto for your commander, and going to be dealing a lot of damage as well. So very strong there. Lightning Army of 1, 3 mana for a 3/2 first strike trample lifelink creature. Whenever lightning deals combat damage to a player until your next turn, if a source would deal damage to a player or a permanent that player controls, deals double damage instead. So very strong here because it has first strike, right? It deals the damage, and then now all of your other creatures that are attacking deal double that damage. So very good. SRAM Senior Edificer, we did take out Secret Rendezvous, but doesn't mean we can't draw more cards, right? Never a bad idea to draw more cards, and whenever we're casting an equipment, we will be doing just that. Also a cheap card to get out and then equip with something. Rich Card's Expertise, also very strong, drawing a bunch of cards, and then we cast something for free. So very cool there. We could draw into Cloud, play Cloud, and then equip something for free, and potentially give it haste with whatever we equip it with. Just something to think of there. As far as artifacts and what we want here in the package, Bladehold War Whip is super cool. It's going to come in already attached to a creature, and I have a friend who has a really cool Nahiri deck who it's mainly focused is, 4 Mirrodin or like the Phyrexian Germ tokens, like the living weapon cards, because they essentially make their own creatures that they attach to, right? Which is super cool, and this is very synergistic with our commander, but it also makes equip abilities. You activate if other equipment costs 1 less to activate, which is really strong. Then it gives you equip creature double strike, so also very cool there. And equipping it for free for 5, like instead of 5, is also great with our commander's Enter the Battlefield trigger. So really strong card overall. Bloodforged Battle Axe, a really great card to have with decks that want to swing wide with a lot of equipped creatures, just because you will be making a lot of Bloodforged Battle Axes, and the more you can spread them out, the better it gets. So very cool there. Dragonfire Blade is very cool as well. Quick creature gets +2/+2 and has hexproof from monocolored. So helps protect our commander, right, a little bit from getting Path to Exiled or anything like that. And pretty much only costs 1 to equip if we're equipping our commander. Gets him very close to that 7 power, but also could be a good equip for other creatures as well, and just a cheap equipment to get out early. Excalibur Sword of Eden is not a cheap equipment to get out early, much better late game, but pretty much when you draw it with Cloud's ability or at the beginning of a turn, we'll probably be able to cast it because it's just going to cost that much less to cast. It's going to give your commander a ton of power and vigilance, and yeah, it's going to be really great. And then if you can get Shadow Spear on your commander as well, going to be really great, and you're going to be gaining lots of life. So a lot of cards to love here, and some new cards from the new set that we're also adding in, and very cool there. But I hope you enjoyed this deck tech for the Final Fantasy Limit Break Commander deck. We're going to be doing deck techs of all of these decks, so make sure to check it out. Like and subscribe so you don't miss out. And I'll see you for the next one. Bye.